Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Faith Focus Weekly Discipleship Podcast. My name is Kevin Rogness, and I'm the Discipleship Director here at Faith Covenant Church. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, let us know how we're doing, all those things. That just helps us to make sure we know that you're getting the kind of stuff that you need out of this podcast. So my email address is listed in the episode description, so please let me know if you have anything that you want us to cover. I want this to be edifying for you. We took a little bit of a break last week, and we are coming back today with our youth director, Davey Neubauer. Thanks, Davey, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And what we're doing today is talking a bit about what we're doing here at Faith Covenant this fall as it pertains to, I almost said communion, to confirmation.
I keep doing that myself.
Yeah. Starts with the C, ends with Tion, so, it's pretty similar. So confirmation is something that happens in a lot of different denominations. I think in Catholicism it's considered a sacrament in the way that we in the covenant consider baptism and communion a sacrament. So varying traditions handle confirmation in a lot of different ways. And even here at Faith Covenant, confirmation has looked like a lot of different things. So where was confirmation when you started here? Because you've been here 2 years now?
2 years.
And what was the state of confirmation when you started here?
Actually, when you were talking about different denominations, so I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, and so we didn't have confirmation. And then my wife works for a Converge church, which is Baptist General Conference, no confirmation. So when I came here, first I knew of confirmation because my wife grew up Lutheran, but I really had no idea what it is, what it looks like, how to implement it. And so when I got here, that's the first piece. I'm just not familiar with it. But when I got here, I had a lot of conversations with Sarah and what it could look like. When I got here, there was no confirmation. There had been confirmation in the past. I think 2019 was probably the last time it was offered. And so there's a lot of questions and I think a lot of discussion around what would it look like, what's the age appropriateness of it, what are some other churches that have done it well. Ask Brad some questions of like what does he like about confirmation, what does he value about it. So I think I didn't want to jump into it right away because I wanted to be intentional. I wanted to build a program that made sense for me and for the church. So I took a lot of time to just gather information, I guess. So to answer your question, there wasn't anything. Yeah. It's been, I think, almost 5 years since there's been a confirmation program.
And part of that, of course, was COVID interrupted everything. Yeah. So that put the brakes on things, and then obviously there was a transition from Nick Madsen to you, and so there's just been a lot of transition going on in the last few years here.
Yeah, and so I think a couple things that I want to inform people that watch this, especially parents. What I wanted to do is I wanted to not have a program that felt forced. I don't want to bring kids in that maybe aren't super connected to our church and their parents feel like they need to do something and then they leave. But I also want to open up a program that kids are like really exploring what they really believe or what they've been taught, and there's a lot of room to ask questions. So that's why I really I stumbled upon Youth Alpha as something to take. Eric 2 years ago, he graduated 2 years ago through, and I was just really impressed by. I've known about Alpha, but I was just really impressed by the Youth Alpha, how it's really well done. It's video led. It's easy to guide students through, but it's also really engaging, and it gives students space to ask good questions. And what I really like about it, it's very not high level, but it's very accessible, and it's very much engaging, where kids can feel like they can ask good questions. And I also like the fact that they interview teenagers that are Christian teenagers that maybe they kind of think there's a God, but they're not sure, and then also teenagers that don't believe in God at all. I just like that perspective of bringing in some apologetics to teenagers' thought process. I think that's really healthy, and that's really good foundation. So Youth Alpha talks about things like, what's the role of the church? Why did Jesus have to come? What's the role of the Holy Spirit? Prayer. There's, I think, 12 or 13 different lessons. But it's just a really good starting point. Having that as a base to go into the other parts of confirmation. So I knew I wanted it. I kind of went back and forth, but I knew I wanted it to be for 8th and 9th graders. I knew I didn't want to force people into it, so it's open for older students, especially those students that kind of got lost in the shuffle during COVID. And I knew that I wanted to really promote this idea of asking good questions.
Yeah. Sounds good. So that's, and you already kind of, in all of that, answered the next question that I was going to ask about what was the process of developing what we're going to be doing. So you've already talked a little bit about Youth Alpha, so we're going to be using that. When is that happening, and what does that look like here at Faith Covenant to use Youth Alpha?
Yeah, so it's happening pretty quickly. It's starting in a couple weeks, and the piece that, not just for this conversation, but for ministry, youth ministry in general, that I'm been really trying to implement is it's my role. I believe it's my role as the youth director here to encourage parents and equip parents. And so what I noticed, and it's no fault of any parent, but what I've noticed is I just need to do all I can to encourage and equip parents so they're more involved in their kids' ministry upbringing, because I'm only going to be with their kids 1 to 3 hours a week at the most.
Yeah.
So just really taking that heart of partnering with parents, not so much like shaming them in any way or anything like that, but just partnering with them, encouraging them that they're doing a good job, and trying to go alongside them and help them. Because I think it's really helpful, actually, that I have a teenager also right now, so I'm kind of going through the same things that they're going through, and the struggles that they have. And so, long story short, the thing that I've trying to incorporate more and more, and just give parents some easy wins. This is a way for parents to get involved. So Youth Alpha is happening Sundays right after church from 12 to 1:30, and part of how a parent can get involved with youth ministry in Youth Alpha as the start of confirmation is to bring meals. That's just an easy way for them to partner with us, for them to feel like they can be part of the youth ministry without being like a full-fledged youth leader. So something that I've communicated in the last year or so, but just something that's real important to me, is how can I give parents different opportunities to help in youth ministry, but not feel like they are having to be fully into it. The more opportunities I can give parents to be involved in youth ministry, the greater success that we're going to have. Because I just believe it's my ultimate job is to, yes, win kids to Jesus, and Jesus transforms lives, but also just help parents shepherd their kids.
Yeah.
And so anytime that we could go together and interlock, hold arms, hold hands, even if it's not like on a week-to-week basis as a youth leader, that's going to be a win, not only for our ministry, but for the church. Yeah.
And are parents going to be in Youth Alpha with their kids, or is it just kind of just the kids mostly?
Just the kids, mostly. I would say if they want to, I wouldn't turn that away. Right now it's going to be myself and one other adult leading Youth Alpha. Parents that are youth leaders. So I think this is an opportunity for them if they want to be involved, but also if they want to step back and not be overly involved. That is when to. I could foresee more, not so much parents wanting to help, but maybe other adults in our church that maybe want to take a spiritual mentoring role. This could be a low commitment thing that wouldn't take a lot of their time. So yeah, I haven't had any parents come to me, and the vision really isn't that. It's just more so preparing food, trying to create a community environment, just giving parents another opportunity to be involved.
Perfect. So that's starting September 25th, correct? Or no?
22nd.
22nd.
Yep.
25th is the Wednesday night kickoffs.
So it's going to go from then to the first week, and I believe that's the 8th of December.
Okay.
Will be Youth Alpha.
Okay, so that's Sundays after church, noon to 1:30 for the students. Okay, so then that's kind of the fall semester, so to speak. What's happening then later in the spring?
Well,
for confirmation.
Well, winter.
Winter, spring.
So right after Christmas, I believe the second week of January. Can't remember.
I think January 12th.
12th.
We just had our big staff meeting this morning, so all our dates are just kind of jumbled. We're like, well, what day?
So January 12th is going to be confirmation class with Brad, Pastor Brad. He is just really one of the greatest things, and Brad would agree with me if he was in the room with us, that he's been surprised by is he just really loves taking teenagers through like a Bible study, and just what I've noticed in Brad is he likes to lead through asking questions. So we're continuing this topic of asking good questions, and so he leads by asking a question, and then the student answers, and then he asks another question to get them thinking deeper. Yep. So confirmation classes with Brad, and his plan, I don't know a lot about his plan, but his plan is to take kids from creation to the ministry of Jesus. And I believe it's going to be following the principles of walking with, which you've talked about on this podcast. So that's the plan from January to the first week of May this year, is to do confirmation classes with Brad. So Youth Alpha is step 1, confirmation classes with Brad is step 2.
And then are there other pieces that are kind of going to be going on along with these pieces?
Yeah, so there'll be a couple small homework assignments, which we don't want to get into. It's not really necessary, but a couple small homework pieces. The biggest thing that I'm kind of excited about is there'll be 2 opportunities since it's a 2-year program, but either the first summer or the second summer, they'll have an opportunity to go with Pastor Brad and a couple other leaders in the early part of August, either the first week or the second week of August, to go on a Boundary Waters trip. And that is an opportunity to be out in nature and just be in a different space, be in God's creation, and just it's a good time to develop leadership skills, learning how to navigate through the woods and trails and all that. And just the space to process and have a lot of time not plugged into any device, and just have a lot of time to process and think. And so that will be a requirement, part of confirmation that you need to do in either year 1 or year 2.
All right. I would not survive that. I'm not a camper. No, what I'm finding striking listening to you talk about what we're doing is I grew up in a church in a part of a denomination called the Lutheran Brethren. It's a smaller Lutheran denomination, and the confirmation program we did, we had a different curriculum of to like teach us Bible stories and stuff like that, and kind of teach us the narrative of Scripture and some of the basic doctrines. The actual like confirmation ceremony, confirmation Sunday, we were given. Each one of us had different questions from Martin Luther's catechism that we had to memorize the answers to.
My goodness.
Which isn't necessarily a bad approach. And like we knew which ones in advance were coming, so it's not like we had to memorize the whole thing. But we were given the questions, and we, as students, we had to memorize the answers. what I appreciate about what we're doing is that it flips that on the head and says, no, we're going to ask the students questions and get them thinking about their faith and engaging them. And to me, that's more confirming. That's a more opportunity for a student to confirm, hey, is this really what I believe? And what do I know about this?
And that's really great that you said that, because we didn't talk about this in our prep for this episode. But
I like to surprise him.
Confirmation service at the end of the 2-year program will look like, and this is something that I'm stealing from Plymouth Covenant when Sarah was here, but they do this thing where students have to present a project. Now that could be a paper that they are reading, a short paper, but it could be an art project that they make out of, like a painting, for example. Like, this is what I learned through the confirmation progress, and this is what God means to me. And so you're giving students an opportunity, not to have them feel forced into something, but give them space to be creative and express what God means to them in whatever way they want to express it. Yeah. So if they want to write a poem, if they want to make something out of scrap metal, they could do that. Yeah. And so that will be a unique piece to confirmation once those students go through the second year process. So
May of 2026, we've got a lot to look forward to. Seems like a long ways away, but
it goes fast.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to say about confirmation?
No. I guess the whole idea, we talked a lot about it, but it's purposely made with a lot of flexibility for parents. Because again, I don't want students to feel forced into this as something that they do and then they leave. We want this to be enriching. We want there to be flexibility with people's busy schedules. That's why there's an option of doing the Boundary Waters trip either year 1 or year 2. We want this to be enriching for the students that are going through this process. We hope through this process there'll be some opportunities for adults that aren't parents or aren't youth leaders to come alongside these students a little bit. So there'll be some spiritual mentoring. I can't quote anything right now, but there's just a lot of research coming out in the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years that students need to have 3 or 4 caring adults outside of their family circle. That really, really helps prolong faith out once they've graduated high school. So there's a lot to it. It's intentional. It's thought out, and hopefully it really, God willing, it really works. We just want this to be a step in the process and not like, you should do this and then you're good to go and you can just do whatever you want for the rest of your high school.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, that sounds good. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that does in the lives of our young people in our church and seeing what happens with that. So I'm going to, like I said, my email address is going to be listed in the episode description. I'll also put Davey's email in there as well, so that if you have any questions for Davey about confirmation, you can contact him directly. So Davey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you all for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day.
Bye.